So this is a story of your grandfather Jake, yoches, and how he came to live in America. Jake left Europe in an area that was partially Lithuania and partly Latvia, up above Poland, in the turn of the century, around 1903, 1904, and came to America. He had to leave Russia because the Russians were conscripting or taking people into the army, and he was just a young man at the time.
How old was he?
He was 11.
He was 11.
And his family wanted him to go to America, but they didn't really have money to put him on a train, to take a train to Germany to catch a boat there. So he actually walked through the mountains and found his way to Germany, where he stole aboard a freighter, or excuse me, it was a liner, and he stowed away in it in the luggage section and rode the ship to Corpus Christi, Texas.
Was he by himself?
He was all alone. You can imagine an 11-year-old taking this long walk, hopping on trains, doing the best he could to communicate with these people to find out where he was and where he was going. So he stows away on this ship, and as the ship comes close to shore, he knows that he doesn't have papers. He's an illegal. And he knows that if he tries to get off board with everybody else, they're going to return him back to his country. So he jumps off the ship and swims a half a mile to shore, and with what was his little belongings, and finds his way to the train yards, and eventually tries to find trains that are heading towards Colorado. And the reason he was going to Colorado is he already had family here who had started a dairy, and they had offered him work here. Actually, the family was the Robinson Dairy, and they were trying to get a lot of immigrants here because they were cheap labor. They paid them like 2 to 3 cents a day to work for them in the stables and in the dairy. So he knew he had a job here, but he had to find his way to Colorado. And by getting on train after train after train, he finally found his way to Colorado, and that's where he found his cousins in the dairy and started working for them. I think by the time he made it here, he was 12 or 13 years old. It took him quite some time to get here.
And why was he denied citizenship?
Well, the reason for his entire life, he used to have to go down to the post office every year and register. He did never become a citizen of the country because in the 20s, when there was prohibition, he and a lot of other people back then made their own homemade liquor, and they said he wouldn't be able to become a citizen unless he would tell on his neighbors who had stills, and he refused to do that, so they kept him from ever becoming a citizen.
And he's my great-grandpa.
He's your great-grandpa, and your brother is named after him.
And what was his contribution to Colorado?
Well, a number of things, besides also helping start one of the first large congregation in synagogues here. He also, after he left the dairy, he got into the ice business, delivering ice, and then as the war was getting started, he also started to deliver coal and oil to houses. And eventually that led to a business that he started, which was gas stations and truck stops.
That Zadie took over, my grandpa.
Well, he started them. Your grandfather helped start them. He did have a partner back then, a cousin named Morris, who helped him. But the police approached my grandfather in the 30s and said they wanted to start something called the patrol, where because he had truck stops out on the highways back then, and remember these were two-lane highways, this is long before we had interstate highways. They said they needed stations where these patrol cars could gas up and get service and all that stuff. And he helped found the Colorado State Patrol and helped with servicing their vehicles, putting tires on them, fixing them when they needed to be fixed. They didn't really have any other facilities back in those days, so he was monumental in getting the Colorado State Patrol going, and was recognized 20 years after it started for helping get them going. And here's a picture of Jake. This picture was probably taken, about 1922, 24 or something.
Who is he with?
That is his wife on the other side, and their very first daughter, Anne, in the middle.
Well, thank you for telling me that story, Dad.